Everybody, AJ McWhorter here, your tournament director for the Hobie Bass Open Series, anchored by Power Pole. And we just wrapped up the St. Croix Rods Lake Seminole event and college tour here in Bainbridge, Georgia. We had an awesome event down here, as always. And before we get into the event details, I have to give some thanks to the folks that make this all possible. This is our third visit to Bainbridge, Georgia at Lake Seminole, and we've had some amazing times here and brought over 460 kayak anglers to this community over the years for these events. We want to give a big shout out to Visit Bainbridge for all their support and always welcoming us back with open arms. We want to give a big shout out to St. Croix Rods for their investment into the kayak community for many years and being the namesake sponsor of this event, as well as another one later this year at the Mississippi River out of La Crosse. Thanks to Hobie for their continued investment and support for the activities they design products for. Big shout out to Steve Fields and Byron for all their help on and off the water this weekend. And now we have a shout out for our series sponsors: Power Pole, Lowrance, AFTCO, Torqeedo, Burley Pro, FPV Power, Marine Mat, Engel Coolers, St. Croix, Hobie Eyewear, Yak Gear, Boondocks, and Stolquist. We really appreciate their support. If you're unfamiliar with those brands, go check them out. They've been investing into the kayak community and the fishing community for many years and have a lot of great products to offer. But most importantly, we have to thank all the folks that made it to Lake Seminole, as well as all the folks at home all weekend that were sharing and supporting these anglers' efforts out here on the water. If you want to fish with us in the Hobie Bass Open Series or even still compete for the AFTCO Angler of the Year, there's plenty of opportunities left this year. Registration is currently open for the AFTCO Kentucky Lake event. That's the location where it all got started. Get signed up and help support a community that would love to see you back, and we can showcase how that fishery is on the comeback. That is also the next stop for our college tour. If you know anybody or are looking to get involved in the college tour events, reach out to us and we can help get you started. Soon we'll be opening the registration for the Cayuga Lake event up in New York, and we're real excited to showcase that fishery and hit a different part of the country as we start working for the northern and river swings through the summer. We will be updating the standings after this event for our AFTCO Angler of the Year race and look forward to seeing the changes and adjustments as more folks have been able to fish with us moving into our fourth event. First, we're going to dive into the first college tour event of the season. We had 8 anglers from 2 schools out here: Campbellsville University out of Kentucky and Carson Newman University out of Tennessee. We're going to bring up the top 3 anglers and hear a little bit about their time here on Lake Seminole and representing their school. If Ewing Minor, Jaxton Orr, and Prescott Humphrey can come up here, please. All right, in third place with 75 1/4 inches, Prescott Humphrey.
I think you got the name wrong.
Oh, I did? What's the name?
Peyton.
Peyton.
Hughes.
Peyton
You're
Hughes,
fine.
sorry about that.
You're fine.
Peyton. Peyton, tell everybody what school you're representing.
I'm representing Campbellsville University.
And what were your experiences down here on Lake Seminole?
It was tough. I mean, I was around a lot of fish. I made a lot of mistakes day one yesterday. I had 3 that were more than likely over 20 inches come off right at the kayak. And I really didn't figure out what I was going to do till yesterday. I eventually figured out that they were guarding fry, and it was pretty easy to catch them guarding fry. For me, it was just keeping them hooked.
What was it taking to get them in the boat, though? What were you throwing?
I was throwing a weightless fluke and a 2.8 Kitech, and I just for some reason could not get them in the boat this week.
And you've had an opportunity to fish other kayak events, but this is your first time kind of for the Hobie College Tour representing your school. What's it like to kind of be at the start of this college series and kind of laying the groundwork to build that and be able to fish out of a kayak representing your college?
Man, it's awesome. I mean, I've fished out of a kayak all my life, and coming to college and knowing that there's an opportunity to do it, it's amazing. And I couldn't ask Campbellsville for a better opportunity, and I'm really appreciative of that.
You looking forward to a little home state fishing next month, Kentucky
Yes, sir.
Lake?
Yep.
All right, man. Is there anybody you want to thank?
I'd just like to thank Campbellsville University and all of our sponsors.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. All right, in second place with 92 3/4 inches, taken back to the school $110, Jaxton Orr. And Jaxton, how's it going, man?
It's going good.
Yeah, good, man. You had a really strong day, 92 3/4 inches, good enough for second place. How did it feel to represent your school down here on Lake Seminole this week?
It was awesome for sure. Just super grateful to have the opportunity to represent Carson Newman, and they support us doing this, and you know, not a lot of schools are like that, and just very grateful to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. What did it take for you to put up such a good limit on your all's event?
For me, it really kind of was a timing deal, and I caught him on a jackhammer, Senko, fluke. I mean, kind of everything I threw I caught him on, but it was just getting those bigger bites.
Awesome, man. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank all of Carson Newman University fishing, the kayak team sponsors, Jacob Frazier, and just Carson Newman, the school in general, and you guys. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thanks. All right, in first with 105 3/4 and a 22 3/4 inch big bass taken home for the school, $450, Ewing Minor. Ewing, you had a good run last year. It's the first year of the college tour. How's it feel to get your season started out, the college tour, with a big win?
It feels pretty great to get the college season started out with a win. It's good for our school, get some good points for the School of the Year title, and hopefully we can keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely, man. We'll hear a little bit more about how your day played out for the whole series, but you know, you kind of had a unique perspective where you kind of had a one-day event, but also a two-day event. Did you have to do anything kind of special to manage your fish, manage your area, to make sure that that worked out in your favor?
Well, I kind of just stuck what bit, really, and I got off the water a little bit early, mainly just so nobody would, well, not as many people would know exactly where I was fishing. And I was fishing in a very different way. It's very inconsistent, but obviously you can put up a pretty large bag doing it.
Yeah, man, it's the largest 5-fish limit we've seen in the college tour yet, and it's a strong limit anywhere. So congratulations on that. Is there anybody you want to thank?
I've just got to thank y'all and the school. They do a whole lot for us when we're traveling down to these events, and you know, get us food, a place to stay, and all the gas money. So it's a great program we have.
Awesome, man. Well, we definitely appreciate it. We'll give these anglers another round of applause. Carson Newman comes out of this event with 10.5 points to start the season, and Campbellsville University comes out with 5 points. We will take the best 3-point events of the season, and the first place team will go home with a Pro Angler 14 180, and the second place team will go home with an Outback, Hobie Outback. Through those prizes and promotions, we can keep growing and promoting kayak fishing through the collegiate ranks. All right, Yak Gear Big Bass. It's worth $500. And that goes to the longest bass turned in this weekend in the Open Series event. And we saw some absolute giants come in at Lake Seminole. There were so many 22s, 23s, but there was only one over 24, and that belongs to Adam McCluskey with a 24.25-inch giant Lake Seminole bass. Congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Adam, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Texas now, so.
Well, that's good. So you got a lot more big bass, a lot of opportunities to get to more of these events, and you've been fishing with us a little bit more this year. But man, I got to see it from a little different perspective. You know, the fish was caught on day one, but you had two big fish kind of right in the same window. So what was it like to, you know, obviously catch the 24.25, but you also had a 23 in like this really narrow window. Tell us a little bit about that experience and that big fish for you.
Yeah. I caught that 24 about, what, 2 hours to go or something like that, hour and a half to go. Fishing some deep grass edges with a drop shot on a bait that I actually picked up off the ground in the campsite that I was cleaning up. And they were like new. So I was like, can't throw them away. And it was a funky color. So I was like, maybe this will work here. I don't know. So I threw it on there, casted it out, like 5th cast, hooked into that 24. I was like, okay, here we go.
That's awesome, man. Is that the biggest bass you've turned in a tournament before?
It's the biggest I've turned in a tournament. Yep.
That's awesome, man. Hard to beat catching your biggest tournament bass on a big stage. Lake Seminole definitely showed out this week, but you had the crown jewel of all the fish with that 24.25, man. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Just my family, my wife for supporting me, and you guys for putting this on.
Absolutely, man. Well, we appreciate the support, and congratulations on an awesome fish and a $500 big bass check.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, man. All right, we're gonna bring the next group of anglers up to hear about their day. We've got Jonathan Kislingbury, Jordan Marshall, Daniel Glennie, Garrett Wade, Brady Stores, and Brian Howe. While these anglers are making their way up here, in 18th place, taking home $525. They had a day one total of 82.5 and put up 88 inches today for a total of 170.5. From Kentucky is Jay Wallen. Jay is already on his way back to Kentucky. In 17th, with 87 inches on day one, 86.25 today for 173.25 is Daniel Glennie. Daniel, tell everybody where you're from.
San Antonio, Texas.
And how did Lake Seminole treat you this week?
It treated me pretty good. It was a fun lake to fish.
What did it take for you to be really consistent both days? You were right there in the same window of sized fish, and that was enough to cash a check.
Be honest, after a couple days of practice, I was still uncertain exactly what I was going to be throwing or fishing with. We had, through practice, caught fish on several different baits. There was one particular bait that seemed to produce the most bites. So just happened to go to the tackle store and buy that particular color bait. And it turned out it worked really well for me on Saturday, and it worked really well for me today too, to start off the morning.
Awesome, man. Is there anybody you want to thank?
I'd like to thank my wife and kids. Without their support, I wouldn't be here. I want to thank Rolando Nandine. He's, him and I have been coming. This is, I think, our 3rd event we've come to, and hopefully we'll be together at the 4th event. And then Jeremiah Smith, Carlos Estrada, Eugene Mora, all these guys helped me grow in kayak fishing, and then everybody back in Texas with the Texas Kayak Bass League who push me every month to try to be the best kayak fisher I am.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Thanks. All right, we had a 3-way tie for 14th, and the way a tiebreaker works in this series, it goes to big fish. On kind of the short end of the tiebreaker, but still up here with us, taking home $575, had 86 inches on day 1 and 90 inches today with 176 total. 16th place, Jordan Marshall. Jordan, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Maryville, Tennessee.
Awesome, man. And, you know, being on the short end of a tiebreaker, but still being in the top 15 of the event's pretty exciting. You go home with a check. You know, you had a decent day on day 1. Our anglers were really stacked in that 80s to low 90s range, but today was a little bit more challenging, but you had a better day today with 90 inches. Tell us a little bit about the transition from day 1 to day 2 today and what it took to make it happen.
So just starting practice, I went and checked out an area, spent maybe an hour there, caught 3 fish. They were all over 20 and left it alone. Went back there yesterday morning and had 3 giants come off and knew there were fish there. Ended up with 86 inches and was really frustrated, and went back there today and just didn't lose any fish. So I had sore lip too many yesterday to get any big bites today, but I'll take it.
Awesome, man. Well, other than that, good experience at Lake Seminole?
Yep, no complaints. I always like coming to Seminole. It's one of my favorite lakes in the country to fish.
All right, man. Well, anybody you want to thank before you get out of here?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of people in my fancy New Jersey. Hobie, all y'all running this tournament. I know y'all go through a lot of stuff, dealing with all of us and everybody. But Strike King, I caught most of my fish on Thunder Cricket the last 2 days. Lose, Miller Tech batteries. Just, I guess that's it.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Also with 176 inches, had 86 inches on day 1. I'm sorry, 92 inches on day 1, 84 inches today. Taking home $600 is Jonathan Kislingbury. Representing Queen City, Jonathan, tell everybody where you're from.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
All right, and how did Lake Seminole treat you this weekend?
Obviously pretty good. We were here for about a week practicing and finally found some fish Thursday and stayed there 2 days, both Saturday, Sunday.
Awesome. Did you find today was just a little bit more challenging with the conditions, or were you just kind of running out of the fish in the area?
Yeah, it was more of a challenge. The wind was brutal. Fishing offshore pads and grass, and it was definitely an experience.
Can imagine, man. Well, you made it happen. You overcame the challenging conditions and the changes in all the weather over the 2 days. Top 10%. Really impressive. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, obviously the wife for letting me come out here. My fishing buddy, Nick Ezel, talked me into buying a Hobie a year ago, April, and teaching me how to fish. So, pretty good.
Awesome, man. That's good stuff. Well, we appreciate it, and we'll see you in another one.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, on the other end of that tiebreaker with 176 inches, had 93 1/4 on day 1, 82 3/4 today, taking home $625, Garrett Wade. How's it going, man?
Good.
Where are you from?
Mobile.
Mobile, Alabama.
Yep.
All right, Garrett. Well, you had an awesome day on day 1. You were in that kind of mid to upper 90 range. Not a lot of folks were able to get into that kind of upper echelon of the 90s, but you were able to do it on day 1. It really helped you out. How did your days change from day 1 to day 2?
Yeah, so day 1 I was fishing offshore grass, and it was like all the way out in the middle of the lake. and it was some topped out pondweed that I was throwing a spook style bait on, and I mean they were eating it up yesterday morning, and then went out there this morning and spent about an hour and a half out there until I just couldn't pedal anymore to keep up with the wind. But I left there today with 4 fish when I left that spot, and Steve saw me catch the smallest of all of them today. He got to see me catch 2 of the better ones yesterday, but yeah, I went looking for somewhere that was a little more protected. I had a plan B spot that I knew had some fish in it, and I mean I lost probably 3 today that were, I know one was over 20, so that was kind of the way my tournament went this time.
Well, it's how it goes sometimes, but, you still did enough through the weekend to come in 14th place, really strong showing. You've had a strong showing all year. You're currently 5th in the AFTCO Angler of the Year race. This is only going to help your total for the year. How's that feel?
It feels good, so hopefully I got enough points for the TOC already, so I don't have to sweat it the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we appreciate the support. Is there anybody that you need to thank?
Yeah, so my wife stayed home this time with the kids, so obviously I want to thank her. Sam decided to get sick sometime during the week, so it's been a long week for her. Dakota Lithium for keeping us powered up and providing lodging, and Lake Seminole Outdoors has the best ice cream in town, so shout out to Lake Seminole Outdoors.
Nice, man. All right, we appreciate it, bud. All right, in 13th, taking home $650, 84 inches on day 1, 92.5 today for 176.5, Brady Stores. Brady, where are you from?
Middle of a cornfield, Nebraska.
And how did Lake Seminole treat you, man?
It was really fun. I didn't have as much time to practice as I usually like to at tournaments, but caught some pretty big fish this week, just throwing a swim bait around the whole time, and it's my favorite way to catch them, and I don't know, you couldn't ask for much more.
Anything that changed for you from day 1 to day 2 to have a big jump in your total?
I tried to move yesterday. I moved to Main Lake to try to find a big bite, and after that I didn't catch anything else, but today I just stayed at home in the spot that I was catching them day 1 of the tournament, and ended up catching a giant and seeing some other giants, so I was definitely around them.
Absolutely, man. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I got to thank my family back home for supporting me all the time, and Hobie and Select Sail, Mike and Don. All 3 of us housemates got a check this week, so that's pretty cool. That doesn't happen very often, but on to the next one.
Good stuff, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, in 12th place, had 90 inches on day 1, 87.5 today for 177.5, taking home $675, Brian Howe. Now, Brian, tell everybody where you're from.
Rowlett, Texas.
And when we were here last time, 2 years ago, it was a different time of year, February, but you were the champion. You put up some great totals. You really showcased this fishery. How did it feel to get back at a different time of year?
I loved it. I mean, it was interesting just coming back at a different time since we kind of fished the same time twice before already, so I loved it.
How did it fish different for you? What'd you find, and did you prefer one over the other?
It was completely different, and, you know, my spot that I fished 2 years ago, I had to go check it, right? But I went back there, and it was just topped out grass the whole way. It was kind of, I don't know, I caught a couple of fish, but I didn't think it was worth anything. So I kind of fished around there, but not there.
No doubt, man. Well, what did it take? What was the magic bait this time for you?
The buzzbait worked really well yesterday for, I'd say, the first hour, then it kind of died off for me. And then today, I couldn't barely buy a bite on the buzzbait, so I had to pick up the jackhammer as, you know, my normal thing, kind of, and swim jig.
Awesome, man. Anybody you want to thank?
My wife, Taylor, my son Maverick, Dakota Lithium, Newport Vessels, Dobbins Rods, of course UAJ and Steve and everybody else at Hobie, and everybody back home in Texas and in California.
Absolutely, man. Good deal.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we got the next group of anglers coming up here. We got Francis Tran, Matt Millard, Wayne Lobb, Tim Isaacs, and Rolando Nandine. And while all those anglers are coming up here, 11th place angler is already on their way home. They're taking home $725. They had 93 3/4 inches yesterday, 84 inches today, 177 3/4 inches of mostly all river shoal bass is Steven Sisto. So give Steven a big round of applause. All right, in 10th place, taking home $775, had 79.5 yesterday, had the largest 5-fish limit of the day at 98 3/4 for a total of 178 1/4, Tim Isaacs.
Thank you, sir.
Tim, tell everybody where you're from.
Clifftop, West Virginia.
And you know, it looked to me like you might have been getting in a little river fishing yourself this weekend.
Yes.
Well, today you kind of caught my attention when you laid that 21-inch shoal bass on that board. That thing was fat. Looked like it probably was an awesome catch. Tell us a little bit about that fish and shoal bass fishing.
Well, Thursday I practiced on the river, and I caught my first shoal bass. It was 20 3/4, like 4.5 pounds.
Your first one?
First one.
Wow.
And when I caught that 21, I thought, well, here we go. But 5 minutes after I caught the 21, I caught a 22 largemouth. So it was just, the river was on today for me anyway. My son Jason, he did well yesterday, but he struggled today. It was just kind of flip-flop the opposite.
What'd you find it took to get those big fish to bite for you?
Well, yesterday I was using I make a little jig. It's a little swing head type jig with a skirt on it. And I was tipping it with a Fatty Z. But I think I was only using an 1/8 ounce head. Today I switched over and rigged them Texas rig with a 1/4 ounce weight. And I think with the current in the river the way it was, you know, the trees the cypress I was targeting, I think the 1/8 ounce was washing over top of the fish before they had a chance to hit it. So I switched to the 1/4 ounce tungsten weight, and the rest is history.
There you go, man. We definitely impressed today. 98 3/4, big largemouth and a giant shoal bass, which is just awesome fish. Anybody you want to thank?
Dakota Lithium, Fishing Online, Hobie, Elevation Sports, they take care of me Hobie-wise. And you guys, you and Steve do a pretty bang-up job, I think. I'm very pleased with it.
Well, we appreciate that, Tim. It's always good to see you, and we're starting to see you up here a little bit. So congratulations, man.
It all stems from time on the water. More time you spend on the water, and I've been spending a lot of time on the water this year. So,
well,
little advice.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words for Steve and I, and we always look forward to seeing you at the next event.
All right. Thank you, bub.
Thanks, Tim. All right, in 9th, taking home $850. Had 86 3/4 yesterday, 92.5 today for 179 1/4, Francis Tran. Francis, where you from, man?
Starkville, Mississippi.
And how did Lake Seminole treat you this weekend?
Oh, great. It was a fun time for sure. Between the weather and the fishing, it was Man, I caught a bunch of big fish, and yeah, last time I was here 2 years ago, I caught one fish, so great improvement from there.
So you like the warmer weather down here a little better?
Oh
huh?
yeah, for sure.
Well, you had 86 3/4 on day one, put up 92.5 today. What changed for you from day one to day two to make a big jump and get into our top 10?
So on day one, well, in practice, the area I went to, I was getting it was like noontime, and I was getting hit on top water like left and right. So I picked that area, and they were coming unglued for it. They were coming straight out the water and everything. And so I started with that pattern first thing yesterday, and they were short striking it. It was like the bite was off completely. And I caught a few small ones to fill a limit, and then I was like, I need to slow down. So I just started throwing an underspin, and I was just working this channel, and I was catching a bunch of decent sized fish, 18s, but they were all completely spawned out, like real skinny. And so I kind of took that into play for today, and I basically tied on all the finesse stuff. And I got out there, I still threw top water, and today was completely different versus yesterday. It was super windy, so I got out there, I started throwing the frog, and they were eating it again. So I caught 3 on a frog, and then when the sun came out, I was like, all right, let me throw some finesse stuff, and I actually started throwing a really light Carolina rig through the grass, and I started catching them.
Nice, man. We definitely made it happen. Anybody you want to thank?
My wife at home, all the guys and friends and family back home cheering me on, all the clubs, Swamp Country, Bayou Coast, the Mississippi clubs, No Wake Outfitters. It's a paddle sports and fly shop in Metairie, Louisiana, and Tourney X. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this, or not with that platform, without Tourney X. So
awesome, man. Congratulations, and we appreciate it.
thank you.
In 8th place, taking home $925. Had 92.5 on day one, 87 3/4 today for a total of 180 1/4. Matt Millard. Matt, tell everybody where you're from.
Kingsport, Tennessee.
And how did Lake Seminole treat you this weekend, man?
It was good. This is the first time I've ever been here, and didn't really know what to expect other than kind of what you read, and was disappointed a little bit with the weather we had on Thursday. I had to move ramps a couple times and didn't get a lot of practice in, and had to scramble Friday to kind of find something, and it worked out.
No doubt, man. And that held up for you all weekend? Same thing?
Yeah, today was obviously a little bit tougher. I don't know if it was the bite or as much as the wind. I was out, offshore in the timber, and that was pretty brutal with the wind getting pushed around everywhere. And, you've got timber that's just below the surface or just above. And, I wasn't sure if it was just I wasn't able to make the cast that I was yesterday, or, the fish just didn't bite as well. But held up pretty good. Most of my fish come on a jerk bait. Did catch one key fish on a glide bait and a big worm too.
Okay. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, as always, I want to thank my girlfriend at home. She supports me traveling around all over the place, and I want to thank X2 Power for giving me some batteries to work with this year, and thank you guys for putting on a great tournament.
Hey, man, thank you for being here. We always appreciate it, and good to see you.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, man. All right, in 7th, taking home $1,000. Had 86 1/4 on day one. Had 95 1/4 today, for a total of 181 1/2. Your winner of the BOS Shreveport event earlier this year, Rolando Nandine.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Rolando, tell everybody where you're from.
San Antonio, Texas.
And tell us a little bit about your experience on Lake Seminole here in Bainbridge, Georgia this week.
Well, it's my first time here, and I got out here and got to practice a day and a half because we cut it short for thunderstorms. I think it was, you know, that one day that the storms rolled in, and didn't really got on anything really big. I was throwing a big jerk bait, and I thought that was going to be the deal, and I was throwing my regular size, you know, smaller jerk baits, and of course caught fish on all of that, and then didn't really have. I had two areas that I was kind of torn between to start, and of course I carpooled with Glennie here, so we kind of have to, you know, coordinate to see which ramps we both will agree on, and luckily we fished together, so it's not really hard to do that, and found a good bite on both spots, and didn't matter where we started because I could reach either ramp would get him to the same area. So I fished the Spring Creek, and it was pretty good.
Absolutely, man. Well, you know, this is your third event that you fished this year.
Yeah.
You've cashed in all 3 events. Definitely going to be playing into the Angler of the Year race. You've had some great finishes. How's that feel, man?
It feels good. I wish I could do more, but I have to. I can only fish 4, so I have to do well, you know, if I want to take a shot at it. But it's kind of tough with these guys here, man. They're pretty good. So you can't let up. You got to keep fishing to the last second and to make a run at it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think a lot of them would say the same thing about you. Is there anybody that you want to thank?
Yeah, you know, Z Pro and J Rods Customs and Repairs, which he's got a couple of rods he's going to have to repair for me. And also Outdoor Alphas, I get my tackle there. A lot of mega bass stuff that I like to throw. And, of course, the wife, the kiddos at home, and Hobie. Man, that Hobie came in clutch with that wind. And, you know, that 360 is it's a game changer and really helped out.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations again, and we'll see you when we see you next.
Yep.
Thanks, man. All right, in 6th place, taking home $1,150. Had 95 inches on day 1, 87 3/4 today for a total of 182 3/4 is Wayne Lobb.
How you doing?
Wayne, tell everybody where you're from.
Lafayette, Louisiana.
Lafayette, Louisiana. And how was your experience here on Lake Seminole?
You know, I love this lake. I had fished it in 2001, and I didn't fish it correctly in 2001 and kind of felt like I needed to come back to try to have redemption. I had some better ideas after fishing it the first time. Got here on Thursday and found a spot and spent Friday just expanding on it.
And Saturday you had 95 inches, one of the top limits of the weekend. You had some big fish in that limit. How does that feel on tournament day, day 1, and you're laying down giant fish on that catch board?
It's exciting. Sometimes, you know, getting them on the board, fishing clean. You know, I didn't really miss any fish this whole, maybe a couple fish, but I mean, didn't miss any of the ones, the big ones, so I felt good about that. But yeah, always gets the adrenaline going. Nice to have 5. Once you get there, it's fun fishing. Enjoy the rest of the tournament.
Awesome, man. Well, you made it happen this weekend. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, definitely want to thank Pack and Paddle in Lafayette, Louisiana. If you're ever going down 90, headed for Grand Isle or all the redfish and saltwater stuff down there, stop by. It's right off of 90. My family at home, they were all watching on Tourney X, which is a great platform. It's, you know, love every event that I get to do a catch and release tournament, and they were super excited about that. Hobie putting on such a great event. I mean, you guys have just been rock solid every time I've been here, even starting up in Kentucky Lake way back when. So thank you guys.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate that.
All right.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks, sir.
All right, top 5. We'll bring up our day 1 leader, Ewing Minor, Jaxton Orr, Brian Nelli, Christine Fisher, and Josh Counts. All All right, before we dive into the individual placements of all of these anglers, due to a couple of these anglers already qualifying, I want to announce that everybody standing up here is now qualified for the 2023 Tournament of Champions. This year's Tournament of Champions will be at Lake Chickamauga in Dayton, Tennessee this November, and we're really stacking up with a quality group of anglers for this year's event. In 5th place, taking home $1,400, 89.5 inches on day 1, 95.25 inches today for 184 3/4. They are currently 7th in the AFTCO Angler of the Year race and has cashed 3 checks in the Hobie in a row now is Christine Fisher. Christine, tell everybody where you're from.
Weeping Water, Nebraska.
And, you know, Lake Seminole treated you pretty good this weekend. How would you explain your time on the water?
I had a pretty decent practice. Been here for a couple days. We've been here, I think, in February the last couple years, and I'm not sure if I actually got a limit in either one of those tournaments. I usually don't fish very well the first couple months. I just try to survive, and then, you know, when it gets to be a little later and I can get into my groove, it treated me a lot better, and it was pretty awesome all week.
You had a big jump today, anchored your limit with the 23-incher, 95.25 inches, one of the top limits of the weekend. What changed for you from day 1 to day 2?
So day 1, I did like probably a 10, 11 mile float, and I just hit a bunch of spots that I, you know, found in practice. And I really don't fish that hard in practice. I just try to get a good look at a lot of water, take my first day of the tournament, and then try to really figure out what's going on. So I eliminated some water yesterday and then kind of focused in on a couple of spots that I ended up catching some fish late in the day yesterday and decided to start there today and just do a single access deal. And I had about 2 schools of fish that were moving up on grass flats feeding, and there was definitely bite windows, and I was able to capitalize a couple of times. Lost some really key fish, had a 14-incher in my limit, which hurt, but one of these days I hope to maybe one day break 100 inches in a tournament.
Yeah, 95.25 inches and a 14-incher in the limit is still really impressive, though. And so it's kind of the momentum that you've got building into the season. Next event's Kentucky Lake. You obviously have history on Kentucky Lake, and now you've qualified for the Tournament of Champions already, so you have that off your list. How does it feel right now, midway through the season?
Honestly, pretty good. Like I said, the first few tournaments, I just try to survive and not tank a tournament, and I've been fairly consistent, which I'm happy with, and I love Kentucky Lake. I'm just excited to be in the Angler of the Year race with a lot of really good people, so it feels pretty good. I like the momentum we got going.
Awesome. Anybody you want to thank?
Absolutely. Got to thank the good Lord above for letting me do this, and the Hobie staff, you and Steve and everybody. You guys put on a phenomenal series. I got to give a shout out to my mom. It's her birthday today, and my whole family's watching. I love them. G for being my best friend in all this, and all of my sponsors, Dugout, Store Me, Dakota Lithium, and all the rest for letting us do what we get to do.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
In 4th place, taking home $1,675, had 91 inches on day 1, 95 inches today for 186 even. Josh Counts. Josh, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Tell everybody where you're from.
South Chappie, Florida.
All right. And you've got a little bit of history on this lake yourself.
I do, yeah.
And you definitely showed out this weekend, 2 limits over 91 inches with changing conditions. And, you know, you really kind of elevated at the end of the day. You had some good late day calls. Tell us a little bit about how your weekend set up and then kind of building into the last couple hours of the event for you.
Well, I found these fish last week. I practiced Saturday, Sunday, and Monday the week before. And then I laid off them, worked all week. And then I came back out there and the fish were just stacked up, and the conditions yesterday I had to share so much space with some other bass boats that were in there, so it was a small area on a big grass flat, but we were just kind of sharing it yesterday, and then they were not there today, and so it was kind of like they were there early yesterday, so I had to make my time to get back to where I really wanted to be. And then today, same difference, to just cover it and go back and forth, and sooner or later run into them. So.
No doubt, man. Well, you know, that's how it played out for you on Lake Seminole this weekend. Yeah. But how do you feel qualifying for a tournament?
Oh, man, I'm stoked. I thought about it when I was driving up here, and I thought, man, I think that Brian and Ewing are already qualified, so you know, it's a good chance that I'm going to get a qualification. So I'm pumped. It's eluded me the last 2 years, and yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome, man. We're excited to have you. Definitely earned it showing out this weekend. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank Dugout Bait and Tackle. I had a problem with my drive the week before practice, and he sent me a new spine, and I got there Friday night and put it on. I was ready to go Saturday morning. So, yeah, that was good. And Boondocks, they take care of me. Great event sponsor anyway. So
awesome, man. Well, congratulations.
All right. Thanks,
man. In third place, taking home $2,125. Had 92 3/4 on day one. 94.5 today for 187 1/4, and currently in 8th place in our AFTCO Angler of the Year. Only going up after this event is Jaxton Orr. And if you'll set the check down, I'll hand you your mic. Oh, it's slick, too slick, man. That's our bad. Jaxton, tell everybody where you're from, bud.
I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And tell us a little bit about your experience down here at Lake Seminole and what it took to have two really impressive limits on the Tourney X leaderboard, two of the best limits of the whole weekend, and obviously third overall. What did it take for you?
Yeah, my experience here was awesome. The last time I fished here was the Hobie BOS event when they came here last, and didn't do too well, but learned a lot. And I kind of just put everything I learned from that event to this event, and had 2 days to practice. One was on Thursday, and obviously there was a lot of thunderstorms, and we didn't get much time on the water, so we looked at a bunch of launches and kind of scoped out the entire lake. And then Friday we kind of me and my dad found a really good deal going on, and you know, stuck with that.
Awesome, man. Well, it definitely played out for you over the weekend. What was that deal?
For me, it was just a grass line. There was just a small little hole in this grass patch, and I mean, it was a kind of a timing deal. It was in the morning. I'd usually get 1 or 2 big bites, and then in the afternoon, I'd get a couple.
Well, it definitely worked out for you, man, and you grinded out an incredible 2-day total. But it's not just what you did in this event. You've also kind of had sustained consistency through this season. That shows in your Angler of the Year points. It shows now that you've already qualified for the Tournament of Champions. I know the end of last season didn't go the way that you would have wanted it to, but you have kind of made it your mission this year, and you've done everything so far to accomplish your goals this season. How does that feel, knowing that you are really kind of kicking this year's tail so far early in the season, and you've got a lot of momentum going into Kentucky Lake, which you have a lot of history at, as well as some other fisheries upcoming in our schedule. How you feeling right now, man?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. I mean, last year I dealt with some issues that prevented me from fishing a lot, but this year, I mean, I'm just trying to be confident in myself and go catch fish, and I mean, it's been working out so far.
Definitely, man. It's good to see you back here, and qualifying for the Tournament of Champions is definitely an impressive feat, and we'll see you plenty of times this year, but definitely at Lake Chickamauga later this season. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of people. First and foremost, the man upstairs. I'm super grateful to be doing this and going down this path. And then I want to thank my dad for traveling with me and driving a bunch, and super cool to spend that time with him. And then Carson Newman University for supporting the whole kayak team. And want to thank Hobie, you and Steve, and specifically this week, St. Croix. I mean, I was throwing the rods all week, obviously. Caught a lot of my big fish on a 7.3 medium heavy, using a jackhammer, and I mean, great rod in my opinion for that. And fishing online, they get everything I need, you know, on time, and Dakota Lithium keeping us powered.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations.
I got you, man.
All right, there's 2 left. So when the leaderboard went off, Ewing Minor had 192 1/4. Was pretty much leading wire to wire in this thing. When you put up 105 3/4 on day 1, you kind of have a lead. And we all saw that he put up, 86.5 inches throughout the day, and we turned the leaderboard off at the end of day 2. Brian had 92.5 inches on day 1 and was putting together a good total so far today, but when the leaderboard went off, there was some more fish came in. He ended up having the second biggest total today at 98 inches, and both of these anglers ended up over 190 for their total. But Brian didn't quite have enough to catch Ewing Minor. He only came in at 190.5 and will be our second place angler. And we're gonna hear from Brian first. Brian's taking home, what does that say? $3,035 for a second place finish and getting to catch over 92.5 inches of bass both days here on Lake Seminole. How's that feel, man?
Very good. I've not had good experiences here in the past, so it was nice to catch some fish this time. I don't think I even caught a bass the last 2 times, so maybe different time of year, it worked out a little better.
Different time of year, worked out a little better, but folks that watched kind of you win the Tournament of Champions last year kind of got to hear your story of just growing as a bass angler over the time, and I think those tough experiences early on has helped you become not only our grand champion, but also, a second place in this field, in this tournament. So it speaks volumes of just how you've continued to grow as an angler and keep cashing checks in these bass tournaments. What did it take for you this weekend to not just put up 2 great limits, but also, have 98 inches, which was one of our top 5 fish limits of the entire weekend?
It was a grind. I mean, I just nonstop casting. My arm was sore yesterday, and it's even more sore today. The wind didn't help with that either. But I didn't get more than 8 bites each day, so it was long days of just casting. And thankfully, they were the right bites, though, the ones that I did get.
What did it take this weekend for you? What was the magic bait?
I got a couple on Saturday on the walking bait and a frog, and then a chatterbait. And then today the wind was too much for the walking bait, and I kind of abandoned that flat that I was fishing and went into the pads a little more. And got 2 blowups on a frog, landed 1, and the rest was on a chatterbait.
And how's it feel to kind of follow up your first big win in the Bass Open Series with your next largest cash check in an open event, and just kind of sustain that kind of success?
Yeah, I mean, that was my goal this year. I mean, I felt like I did okay last year to sneak into the TOC, and then obviously winning it was amazing. That came fairly easy because I'd got on a nice spot and I kind of sat there the whole time. This was totally different. Again, a huge grind, and even worried that I was going to even get 5 fish. And actually, Steve pulled up on me when I caught my 5th, and I didn't know they were back there, and I was screaming. So I was a big stress relief just to get that 5th, and then I called one after that. Just a little short of catching Ewing, but even calling that one was good. So it was fun. I much rather, to be honest, like the grind is stressful, but the excitement of catching that 5th one is way better than blowing out a tournament, in my opinion.
Absolutely, man. Those last minute fish catches that make a difference in your placement are hard to beat from an excitement level in competitive fishing. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, my wife for sure. Finally, I'm going to be home for more than a week at a time, so get a little break from on the road. Dakota Lithium, keep me powered. Frog togs was a big thing for me this week. And everybody else on my shirt here, I got a bunch of different people. I'm happy to be with the companies I represent.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations. Strong showing this week at Lake Seminole, and we know we'll see you up here again at some events down the road.
I hope so.
Thanks, man. If you'll hand that to Ewing here. All right, in first. 105 3/4 on day one, 86.5 today for a total of 192 1/4, getting his second win of the year in the Hobie Bass Open Series. He won earlier the Harris Chain of Lakes event, is Ewing Minor. Ewing, how's it going, man?
Pretty great.
Yeah, I'd say, man. You had an awesome day one. Tell us a little bit about that day, what it took, what it was like for you to keep kind of culling bigger fish throughout the day and expanding on another huge day one total.
So yesterday, I went out. I only had 1 day of practice, and the only thing I got bid on was an 8-inch glide bait. So I threw that yesterday and mixed in a drop shot, which I had 2 fish on, including my big one. But I caught a bunch of fish on that 8-inch bait this week. I had to downsize to a 6-inch today, but I mean, just a blast out there. Those fish were, I was throwing it over top of timber in 18 to 25 foot of water, and they were coming from 15 to 20 foot down and blowing it out of the water. I have all but one catch yesterday on GoPro, and it's pretty crazy. So
that is crazy, man. That is a fun way to fish, and obviously was the winning way at this weekend. But you know, you kind of started fishing the Bass Open Series, the Lake Seminole event 2 years ago, and you moneyed in that event. How's it feel to kind of come full circle and win on this fishery where it kind of all started for you?
So yeah, I was going to touch on that because that was when the Kozos dug out. They let me use one of their kayaks, and I cut a check in that event. Just kind of started it all. That was my first major kayak event. And this week I went back to the same boat ramp because what else am I going to do? And I never practiced that boat ramp the last go around. So with a little bit of practice, I was able to dial something in.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's definitely been, for some of us, it's been really exciting to watch you kind of grow quickly and excel and then kind of sustain the top of the sport. Other folks are probably ready to kind of have their shot, and that's what makes these competitions so exciting. But right now you're at the top. You've got 2 wins. You've had a strong start to our season. I know when we talked to you at Harris Chain, you had other goals this year, some boat fishing, some Angler of the Year stuff for Carson Newman. But now that you've got 2 first place and another quality event, are you changing your kind of your strategy as we work through this year?
Well, my worst tournament of the year was the college bass event on Cherokee, which is in our backyard. So that put us out of the points race, so I can focus a little bit more on this stuff. But overall, been having a great season out of both the boat and kayak.
Awesome, man. Well, we know when the AFTCO Angler of the Year points come out, we'll see your name moving up the list. It's hard to beat a first place, let alone 2 of them. Definitely halfway through the season, it's an incredibly strong showing this year. Anybody you want to thank for that?
I got to thank the Dugout, Bait and Tackles, Seagar, Newport Vessels, Hobie. In that win today, I probably wouldn't have caught a single bass without a 360. Carson Newman for supporting us as we're coming down here. And, well, if there's anyone else I'm forgetting, then it's...
You appreciate them too,
yes,
right?
I do.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations, and really, really impressive stuff. These strong day ones for you in these events are showing they're very hard for people to catch up to, but incredible stuff, man, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, folks, we appreciate you all following this event all weekend and working through some of our technical difficulties with the service and stuff down here in the bass capital of Georgia, Bainbridge, Georgia. We appreciate them so much and everybody back home supporting these anglers, allowing them to come to these events. Make sure you get signed up for the Hobie Bass Open Series on Kentucky Lake next month. Should be an awesome event, and if you have any other opportunities when these events come to different parts of the country, we want to see you there too. Thanks again, everybody. Safe travels to your home and your next event. We appreciate all the support. Signing out from Bainbridge, Georgia for the Hobie Bass Open Series anchored by Power Pole.